All right, what's up, people? This is going to be a different kind of video because what I want to do is I want to look at the origin of something that I think is very, 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 very important to understanding the origins of Christianity. You're asking, why do I care? I care because I like mysteries. I like solving mysteries. So there's a phrase in the New Testament which actually goes back to Daniel in the Old Testament. I think it's Daniel 7, right? You're seeing this, right? The Son of Man. Now, if you look in the so this is my Strong's, and so I'm gonna, for fuck's sake, this is gonna be hard to do. Maybe I'll just have to fucking tell you what it is, and you can go fucking like search it out for yourself. For fuck's sake, I had Thomas open. Okay, so here's what I want you to think about. Daniel 7, go read that. That's the Old Testament. Go read that. The vision of the Ancient of Days. And the one who is like unto a son of man, which basically means that there were four beasts, and these were beasts. These were eschatological creatures that were meant. In Daniel had a vision, he had a prophecy in his mind, and he conjured these things into his head. Okay, man, he had a nightmare. I don't know how else to explain it, but you're gonna see that if you. Okay, so we're gonna take that. The Son of Man basically was from Daniel chapter 7. Read that. And then get into the New Testament. Now, what I think is really interesting, and I was trying to find this because the Gospel of John really doesn't have, it has like, I think 2 verses. However, the Gospel of Thomas has pretty much nothing. So, Thomas, here's what's funny. Like when you look at New Testament scholarship, and this is really interesting, is that you have 2 phrases that really come off really strong. One is what's called the kingdom of heaven, and the other is the Son of Man. So those are the 2 that are just like on point. Now, where do they come from? Now, see, we know these days that the Gospel of Mark was written the earliest. And I actually think that's where it comes from. I actually think that the Son of Man ideology, with regard to Jesus, identifying him as the Son of Man from Daniel 7, I think that was early. And I think that's important to understand what's really going on with the Christology of it all. If that makes any fucking sense. So, Thomas doesn't know that tradition, because Thomas, there is nowhere in here whereby you see the Son of Man technology. It's just not there. And because what's really going on here is independent traditions. So you have certain people that were, reading Old Testament texts, Septuagint texts, and they were trying to reconfigure the idea of how did this happen that we had a man hung on a tree, which is a curse. It's a curse. So how do we deal with that? Well, one like unto a son of man. What does that even fucking mean? Right there. Right there. I'll let you read it. I'll let you try to figure it out. And then when we go in here and try to see, because I'm going into my Strongs. Strong's is fucking difficult. But, and I see, where is the Son of Man mentality? It's mostly in Matthew, but it's also in Mark. I mean, they do. See Mark here? MK, that's Mark. Sorry. For fuck's sake. Now, normally, it's always going to be, you see how the fucking, like if I just look at it here, and I see some is in, it looks like gray, right? But that's supposed to be red letter text. That's Jesus' words, right? He's comparing himself to Daniel 7, one who appears like a son of man. And then you have Thomas, which, I mean, I'm not a scholar, but I think Thomas is early. I think Thomas is very early. Because it doesn't have that fucking vectorization. You don't even fucking see it in here. All you see is sayings. Like, look, I don't, for fuck's sake, whatever. You're not going to find Son of Man in Thomas. Now, here's the interesting question. And this is this is my question, because this is what I've been thinking about and I've been fucking around with, because I got my Strongs open, I got my Bible open, I got my other Bible open. Well, that's a full Bible, and that's a, scholar Bible, if that makes any sense. Where did this vector get vectored in? You feel me? Because it's a vector and it got vectored in it at a certain point. But there was a certain point, meaning Thomas, and I think Thomas is early. Sue me. You feel me? But how do you get that in there? What's really going on? And how does that all work with Paul? And what Paul's doing? Because I think it's totally independent of Paul, to be honest with you. I think there was a lot of shit going on early on in Christianity, in which case there were so many vectors of like, okay, so how do we deal with this whole, the fact that you got hung on a tree, which according to Deuteronomy is a curse, right? Because that's what happened. That's the one undeniable thing that everybody can admit to, unless you're a mythicist, which I think is goofy. I think there was a guy and he got hung on a tree. And it wasn't as pretty as you think it is. It's not the fucking like smiling guy hanging. No, it's not that at all. That was a real man that got strung up and hung up. Probably got beat before that. That's what all that shit comes from. And how do we vector this? Some people went completely fucking, it means this, Jonah in the whale, this nonsense, right? 3 days in the belly of the whale, that kind of shit, right? The reality was probably a lot more mundane, which of course it is. So he probably was just a revolutionary that died, and, hey, some people think Elvis is still alive. I don't fucking know. But here's the idea, and this is going to be a long video, and if you don't want to watch this video, go suck a dick, unsubscribe. I'm looking for unsubscribers. I really don't want you people here anymore. Some of you. There are people that I really like. They should stay. But I'm looking at Thomas, Daniel, and then if you see all of these are basically, whenever you see the gray thing, that's supposedly the words of Jesus, Son of Man. And I flip it over, yeah, it's prevalent in, what is this? But where do we see Son of Man? In John, it's Son of God. We got to go back to Luke. Son of man, son of man, son of man. Right? So, how did Thomas not have any of that son of man, liturgy, if you will? I mean, I'll call it a liturgy just to be fun. Coming from Daniel, specifically here, right? One like the Son of Man. Where did that come from? How did that get in there? If you read Paul, and Paul's the earliest guy we have, like it or love it or hate it or whatever the fuck, Paul's the earliest guy we have. He does not use Son of Man ideology at all. Thomas, which I also argue is early, does not use Son of Man ideology at all. Mark does, and Mark is early. So then we have Mark. See, I would say we have Mark, Thomas, and Paul. Now, what's going on here? I don't fucking know. Don't look at me like I have all the answers, but I'm raising questions. Because once you step back from this shit and once you start fucking recognizing, like, okay, this is like a puzzle. You might not be able to fucking figure it out, but at the end of the day, at least you ask the right questions. You feel me? I have a fucking idea of who I think Jesus was. And it has nothing to do with any of this bullshit. But that's me. You know what I mean? But when you look at the Son of Man ideology, look at who uses it when you come to the New Testament. You don't get that in James, the Epistle of James, which I think is actually, I don't think it's legitimate. I don't think it's actually James, but I think it's the school of James. So I'll go with that. You know what I mean? Paul, totally alien to him. He doesn't understand that. Son of Man epistemology. I mean eschatology. I don't mean epistemology. I mean, if you get your E's wrong, you just get them wrong, Epistemology is, how we know what we know. Eschatology is the end of days, which is what Daniel was talking about, which is why we get back to Daniel and whether or not Jesus was basically an apocalyptic prophet. I don't fucking know. I just think these things are interesting because I don't really have dogs in the fucking hunt. You feel me? But Thomas has no clue about the Son of Man typology. Mark does, and Mark is early. So what's going on here? I'm going to leave this open-ended because I think you guys, the people that have stuck with me for the longest time, understand where I'm coming from because I don't give a fuck. I really don't. It's not hurting my feelings either way. I just want to know, like, I'm trying to find the truth or the best possible, path to the fucking truth. My foot being on the, is that disrespectful for me to step on my own fucking Bible? Well, I bought it, so why would it be disrespectful? I'm going to leave this at about 15 minutes, but seriously, think about that. Think about the Son of Man ideology and where it came in. It's in Mark, but it's not in Thomas. It's not in Paul. And these are all, I think all three of these are early. So what's going on? I mean, that's an origin of Christianity story. Like, where did this whole thing come from? What's going on here? You feel me? And I do the same thing with Islam. You gotta love just, taking your hands off shit and fucking seeing where it goes.